The Coalition for Nigeria movement has called on Nigerians to reject the Senate proposed bill on the Armed Forces Service Commission, describing it as a taboo. The Coalition for Nigeria movement made this known at the press conference in Abuja on Monday, adding that it is unconstitutional for the National Assembly to propose such bill sponsored by the lawmaker representing Abia South Senatorial District, Senator Abaribe. The bill will give the Senate authority to appoint Chief of Defense Staff, Chief of Army Staff, Chief of Air Staff, Chief of Naval Staff, Director of Military Intelligence, and Head of other ambient security agencies. The bill will also provide for the establishment of Armed Forces Service Commission, which shall have the power and authority pursuant to Section 219 and 1999 Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria as amended. Speaking on behalf of the group, the national president, Mr. Sabo Ode, agreed that Abaribe and his cohort will have to amend the constitution for this to happen.
But instead of devoting their time to acquaint themselves with the bare bones, they are in a haste to impress their constituents and gullible Nigerians by playing to the gallery. There is a vexatious craze of sponsoring absolutely very useless motions and bills currently going on at the National Assembly. It is not the responsibility of our coalition or the civil society to educate members of the National Assembly on their elementary roles as national legislators, but we cannot restrain our emotions in bemoaning the fact that these men and women want Nigerians to believe they don't know the supremacy of our Constitution and the limits of their interference with its true bills and acts emanating therefrom. Nigerians cannot pretend aloofness on certain issues. The 1999 Constitution of Nigeria, as amended, spells out clearly areas that the National Assembly is empowered by the same supreme document to make laws. And majority of these parliamentarians are conversant with the glitch recited like the National Assembly everywhere that any law which contradicts the Constitution of Nigeria is null and void to the extent of contradictions. Give and take. The NAS has no powers to make laws on any matter which the Constitution has not granted such powers to it or made express provisions for it until the Constitution itself is amended. We expect the lawmakers to know that regardless of whatever they consider as loopholes in existing laws, as long as it is reflected in the Constitution, it is wishful thinking that subsidiary laws by an act of Parliament can vacate the potency, effect, or functionality of provisions of the Constitution.
In clear terms, the coalition rubbished the bill to be repugnant at the principle of democracy, a satanic wish to curtail the power of Mr. President on security matter, and a despicable plot to obstruct the presidency.
That Senator Abaribe relied on Section 129 of the 1999 Constitution of Nigeria, but aligned its intendment wrongly gives us a serious cause for concern and not to remain silent. And therefore, we are here this morning briefing you. And so it is obvious that the senators are attempting to wrest the powers of Mr. President in deciding who makes up the list of his service and security chiefs through the back door.
The coalition, however, called on Nigerians to rise and defend their democracy and not allow selfish politicians manipulate the constitution in their favor. Atonda Abib, Newsline TV, Abuja.